Work together or die alone. We are the Spy-Fi Gals, and this is the 355.
Welcome to the Spy-Fi Gals, where we cover spy fact, spy fiction, and everything in between. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Carolyn.
And that's right, you heard that correct, Spy-Fi Gals. This is a special episode of the Spy-Fi Guys podcast. So I'm Christian over here, as usual. Zach is on a deep undercover assignment infiltrating Spectre, so he is not available right now. But I figured even better, we can have two of our favorite female guests from the show to cover the 355. So you guys can introduce yourselves again, or ladies can introduce yourselves again.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
I'm Carolyn.
So both of whom are joining us. I think the last time you guys were both on you ladies were both on an episode together was Sergeant Stubby.
Could be.
No,
I feel like there was another one.
We did
that's
the Bond
right.
draft.
You were both on the Bond draft. That's right. Neither of whom won the Bond draft.
But we won in our hearts.
Yeah, I was gonna say that exactly.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, you had Olaf, which was Chef's Kiss.
Right. Yeah,
amazing.
Mine was clearly the best, so and I don't care what anyone else says.
I think Sarah, you had Kronk.
I had Kronk. I had Villain, which I maintain was the best.
That was
villain.
Pretty good. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Who won that? I don't even remember.
That was Lance. Lance had the most votes.
Okay, he had his was all right.
But yeah, so this is a special dead drop episode for a movie that has come out recently. We were hoping to do this when the 355 was in theaters still, and I think it is still in theaters, but it has recently just hit on demand. So why don't we talk about sort of what you guys had seen from the marketing or knew about this movie?
I had seen the trailer. I remember whenever the trailer came out last year, I just thought it looked really cool. I was like, ooh, all female cast. Or that's what I thought it was, yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, that's about what I knew. It was a spy thriller action movie with women. That's what I knew. It had women.
So I remember hearing about this. This is directed by Simon Kinberg, who's also the guy who directed Dark Phoenix, which none of us really saw or remembered. But Jessica Chastain was also in that. And while they were on set, they were talking about how, they needed it. It's great that the Bonds and the Mission Impossibles and etc. are out there, but they need one that's more female fronted. And that didn't really exist. This is what they were thinking. So they decided, all right, if no one's going to write it, let's come up with our own. And so they did. So, shall we get into the plot?
Let's jump into it.
All right, let me get the synopsis from IMDb. When a top-secret weapon falls into mercenary hands, a wild-card CIA agent joins forces with 3 international agents on a lethal mission to retrieve it, while staying a step ahead of a mysterious woman who's tracking their every move.
So, when the movie started, I was like, all right, wait a minute. Everybody's a man. I thought this movie was all. I thought this movie had a lot of women in it. What's going on?
So we start 150 miles south of Bogota. There's a mansion, some evil-looking white dudes watching a soccer game. There's some sort of deal happening, but not only are the bad guys making their deal, but the Columbian forces are also listening in. We find out that the MacGuffin of this movie is some sort of tech that basically is totally untraceable, but is also like a master key that can get into anything. So, as an example of how this thing works, one of the dudes has the other guy look out a window and they see a cargo plane and type a few clicks, it explodes, or an engine fails and it falls out of the sky. And then they also black out all of Bogota.
So is it all electronic things?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Well, what would the threat be of infiltrating a wooden desk? Not a lot could happen.
I mean, hey, the doctor's electronic screwdriver doesn't work on wood, so,
Fair point. So the scene ended with zooming in on this one gentleman, generic dude, and he's lifting his mask, and it zooms in. And we don't know who he is, and I thought, all right, movie, I know you're trying to get me to just remember his face, but it also feels like you're trying to trick me into caring who he is right now, and I don't yet. So it was one of the. So I started counting, and then I stopped counting, like the number of like spy tropes that
are
were
a lot of
in
tropes.
this movie, and I think that's definitely one of them. That felt very classic spy movie thing that happened. Like zoom in on someone revealing their face, except I didn't really care who he was.
But before the end of the scene, we do have the son of the Columbian guy is the one who's actually like created the drive that can hack into everything, and he gets shot by the Brit because they said, "Oh, we're not going to pay you. We're just going to take this, and no one can make another one of these."
He was the one I thought we were supposed to care about. So I was like getting invested in him, and I'm like, oh wait,
Nope.
he's dead.
But yeah, the British guy who I'm sure has a name, but I just refer to him as the Brit in all of my notes. So he shoots up the mansion, and the Colombian forces come in. So he doesn't actually get his hands on the drive, but that random Colombian special forces guy whose name is Luis is the one who actually gets it.
Now I'm trying to think about all the good applications of what that tool could do. I feel like everyone's just going straight for bad things, but it could probably do a lot of cool things too. I don't know. Can't think of any right now, but
I was gonna say name one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now because everything I'm thinking of is I can circumvent this thing to do something else. So, like but it's all not like necessarily above board. Like, all right, even if I did, use that tool to hack into the bank accounts of all the billionaires and actually equally distribute their wealth,
it's very Robin Hood.
probably a good thing for the world, but still not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what practical applications.
Free Netflix for everybody. Give everyone free Netflix access. I don't know.
I don't know. So yeah, I'm
That'd be
not
great.
sure what good practical applications there would be for this tool, but it's something to think about. So we go over to CIA headquarters. One trope it didn't click off the box. There's no giant seal that they go over, and they don't show the stars.
Interesting.
But we get some CIA agents coming into an office and saying that they've got intel from a Colombian operative. Also, we see Sebastian Stan here, aka Bucky, as Nick.
I say so. Most of my notes are written. All of my notes are written in chronological order as I'm going through the film. I didn't go back and so they're just my stream of consciousness thoughts. And the very last thing I wrote was that was Sebastian Stan. I did not recognize him at all.
Is it because he didn't have the long hair of the Winter Soldier?
I think I've only seen him once upon a time. He had longer hair. I think I've only seen him.
He was like shorter, not as short as this movie.
Yeah, he looked good.
Well, maybe it's because you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Winter Soldier has short hair once again, as he did as Bucky in the first Captain America film. But yeah, so Bucky is Nick. Well, I might slip into calling him Bucky, but it is Nick.
That's what I wrote. I wrote Nick equals Bucky. That was my note.
Yeah. So we find out that Colombian agent is selling the drive for $3 million. And so we go over to Jessica Chastain, whose character's name is Mason, or Mace, a lot of times shortened to. She's doing some fight training, and she's really kicking the butt of the other guy. So Nick and their CIA boss, who has a name, but I do not remember it, so he's just CIA boss, come in and as Mace is finishing up her training and tell her that she's got a job.
Because apparently her job up until this point has just been working out.
As I assume that, this is she was in between job, like she had mission before, and, then she comes back to headquarters, does some more training, keeps in shape while she's not on mission, and then goes back to another mission kind of thing.
So what struck me about this, and do you know when it was filmed or written or either of those things?
It was filmed, let me see. It was partial. I know they did most of it, I think, in 2019, if I'm right. Give me a sec.
So what struck me was that it seemed like Nick and Mace were outwardly joking about their dating history and like sort of prodding each
Oh,
other.
that's right. Yeah.
And I thought that's such a weird thing to do in front of all of your coworkers. Because
Right.
what it looked like or what it sounded like was like they were ex-jilted lovers and they were sort of prodding each other for their dating history. And I thought that's a weird thing to do in front of your boss. But then it turns out that they're not dating, which then made that scene weirder.
I think it was more of her trying to be like one of the guys kind of thing because she felt like she had to, to be in this, male dominated world. And so like, all right, the way I'm going to get respect is by being one of the guys and joking, like, making jokes about my dating history kind of thing. Which I don't think you need to do that. You shouldn't be that way, but that's what I think character wise, because that's what, they're trying to portray. I don't know, but it is still weird. Don't get me wrong.
And so having that kind of, and I recognize that I shouldn't bring real world expectations to the film, but I did anyway, and which just struck me as
fair enough. Oh, so yeah, was filmed in 2019, and then they did some pickup shooting in 2020. So we find out, well, her job is to go and retrieve the drive, which the meet is happening in Paris. So we see them in the hotel room, sort of making the plans of, scouting out, all right, where are the escape routes from here, where are eye lines, etc. Which is, I always appreciate that in a movie, especially in a spy movie or like a heist movie or something. So they are undercover as newlyweds.
Movie trope number 2 for those keeping track at home.
I mean, yeah, right, it is, but I feel like it is the easiest cover to have where no one asks questions of why this man and woman are getting a hotel room together.
Right.
Well, they clearly had some sort of relationship, friends with benefits or something.
So here's the part where Nick like makes a move and is like, "Here, I'm gonna try this," and then goes in for the kiss.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, the whole scene was. I had feelings about it, I guess, because the way that they so they bring in the marriage cover, and if I can bring in a brief thing that's going to happen in 5 minutes from now, their cover is blown in like 5 minutes of them landing. So the only reason to bother explaining to the audience why they have this cover is to like get them closer together as a couple. But shouldn't they have figured out that, like, from a character perspective, shouldn't they have figured out their cover like before they landed and got in the hotel room?
That's so fair.
I didn't think that was really related. Like, he was kind of using that as a move, I guess, but I assume they have, slept together before.
Well, so that's what I thought at the gym, but I don't think so. Based on that scene, I don't think so. Based on the way that he leaned forward and she stood there with her arms at her side, not moving, that's not the way that you receive a kiss if you've kissed that person consensually.
Well, my interpretation of it is that they had a relationship in the past. Now it's strictly professional. Maybe they have a little bit of feelings, but she's not really interested because she's trying to protect that part of her life. But she was like, might as well sleep with him.
On a dime to be in a relationship. So hard.
I don't really care about their relationship. I didn't really think they were in a relationship. But later in the movie, I guess, when there's more feelings, it's kind of like they were repressed and they were coming out, but not that they were that we were supposed to think that they were there before. I don't know. I think she was just using her liberated stature to just do whatever she wanted, and that's what she decided to do, not because it was related to the mission. I don't know. That was my take on it, but
So after they have their roll in the hay, we have cut to them walking down the street in Paris, and they're starting their mission. So I was unclear what was happening here at first.
Yeah, me too.
And so fast.
Nick sits next to the Columbian agent Louise, and they have this. I noticed them. They do a shot of their backpack, so they have the same backpack. So initially, I thought that their job was not to actually exchange money for it, but just to steal it outright.
Yeah, I thought that they were going to intentionally switch backpacks, which then made the ensuing action scene odd because they were chasing after those people who stole the bag like that bag had the chip in it, but it's just money. Not that
I mean, it's $3 million of money.
I mean,
so
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They split up.
Yeah.
They split up, so they sent. Yeah.
Well, let's hold on. Let's explain the whole thing first. So Carolyn, you're the one who sort of explained it to me because I was like, I thought they were gonna steal it and not pay for it and just get the thing.
Well, what I was seeing is, the CIA brought the $3 million and they were gonna swap bags.
And that would be the actual trade. That was how it was supposed to go down.
And that was gonna be what was happening. But before they could do that, the coffee barista came in thinking the swap had already happened and stole the bag with the money. So she's running away with it and doesn't have the chip.
Yeah, so then the barista does, let me guess, trope number 3, Sarah, spilling food to distract someone.
Oh, I didn't.
Spilling coffee.
Good point. Good. Good check. Which we see later too. So
it's a trope for a reason though. It is a good distraction if you're either a thief or a pickpocket or something. Yeah. So anytime you're somewhere crowded and someone accidentally spills something on you, pat down all your pockets and make sure they didn't steal something.
What I noted about the scene is that it felt a little early for an action scene because I don't know that I super care about any of these people. I didn't know what was in the bag, which then made it hard to care about the chase. The Jessica Chastain and Mace and Nick did run after the bag with the fervor of trying to save the world from someone bad having this chip in their hand.
I could see that.
So it is just, I wrote down, it's just money, let it go.
Well, Nick was after the chip. He chased after
they
the
did
Columbian
split
guy.
up. Yeah,
they split up. So Jessica Chastain was going after the money and Nick was going after the chip.
And she shot at people. Like, she fired her weapon in order to get money. Like, I guess in the world and the universe that we're building, I guess you can be a little bit more fast and loose with when you discharge your weapon. But don't do that. Don't kill people for money. Like, don't do that.
Shooting on a crowded subway platform, not ideal.
Maybe we don't shoot into a crowd.
No. But yeah, so as we said, so it's a foot chase, it becomes a motorcycle chase, then becomes a metro chase. Which I thought the action here was pretty good. Mace goes down into the metro tunnel and they have a fight like on the tracks.
Classic trope. This was what I marked out as on the train.
If it was on top of the train, I would say yes. I'd say in a train tunnel, less so.
Adjacent. Trope adjacent.
Yeah. Trope adjacent, sure. And then the barista jumps in front of the metro, goes right in front of it as it's coming by so that Mace can't chase after her. And then Nick catches up with Luis and they have a fight. And then the Brit finds Nick and asks if he has the drive and he says no. And then we go back to the barista gets away on a bus or on the metro and opens a backpack and it has money and she looks disappointed that it has the money.
Oops.
After the fight, Luis got away and he's back in his room and someone knocks on his door and it is Dr. Graciela Rivera, played by Penelope Cruz. And we find out that she is a therapist who works with the Columbian intelligence agency. And she's been sent there to sort of, talk him back into turning himself in, so that he's, out of harm's way, and also that the drive is in their control. And that she actually never works in the field. This is she's usually just as a therapist to the agents.
When the door opened and it was Penelope Cruz / Dr. Rivera, I think I had remembered that she was in this movie, but I forgot. So when the door opened, I immediately thought, no. You're too beautiful. Stop.
Oh.
This movie
For what?
This movie has too many pretty people. We don't need more beautiful people. Stop being so pretty. Just stop. Ugly yourself up a little bit.
I see.
That's what I thought.
All right. Interesting. So we find out that the barista, her name is Marie, and she is BND, which I always forget. I don't remember what that stands for, but it is German intelligence. And so they have the backpack, and she tracked the prints on the backpack to the CIA. But as she's giving her this report to her superior, she's told that this op is being taken away from her because she's too personally involved. And she argues with her boss, whose name is Jonas. And we get some sort of foreshadowing about something like that. She's got father issues, but Jonas says, "All right, fine, it's yours. You can finish it."
I love that my mission in German is meine Mission.
Yeah. Yeah, we were like, hey, we understand that.
Love that.
But yes, this and Marie is played by Diane Kruger, who you may recognize from the National Treasure movies. That's and also Inglourious Bastards. She's in that too.
Did not recognize her.
Sorry, I didn't recognize Sebastian Stan. So
So we go over to a CIA safe house. Mace is being interrogated by her boss, and this is where she's told that Nick is dead.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so she says, "You know what? I need a minute." She goes to the bathroom, has flashbacks of them in bed together. The content of those conversations, which really leads me to believe that they hadn't slept together before. It was stuff like, "How did that feel for you?" or something like that, or "How was that for you?" or something. Yeah.
And I thought, how dare they have flashbacks to a relationship that started like yesterday?
Well, I didn't think it did.
Okay, maybe their sexual relationship, but their friendship has seemingly been for much longer.
I'm gonna have to watch this again.
Fair. So I'm not saying that she shouldn't be sad, but based on my up to this point understanding of their relationship, which has changed. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, they just began a sexual relationship, and the way that it felt like the movie was framed, it was as though they had a relationship for much longer. And I also thought, so I don't like it when men are fridged either, because
fridging is always, yeah.
And at this point in the film, I thought, oh no, that was his entire point of the film, to act as a catalyst for her moving forward. I will just trail off mysteriously.
Yeah, so she goes back into the interrogation room, and her boss says, "All right, clear the room. Let me just talk to her by myself." And her boss says, "All right, officially, we can't put you on this, but if you go rogue and solve this, then yeah, you can make that happen." Which is basically like, it reminded me of, I think there was a scene in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol where the IMF director tells Ethan Hunt the exact same thing. It's like, all right, if you were to go rogue and do this, then you can take this mission. So there's another trope, going rogue.
I was gonna say, I marked that as what were they on 4 or 5 to be a maverick and go out on your own.
Yeah, but she says, all right, I'll do this, but I'm gonna need help. And we go over to London, where Khadija is played by Lupita Nyong'o, is giving a speech on cyber attacks, and Mace is there watching her big presentation. Talks with her afterwards to try to get her to recruit her for this mission, but Khadija says she's out of the field, and I don't do this anymore. And, okay, so she leaves, and actually, also we are introduced to Khadija's partner, who I don't remember if they had a name or not.
Oh,
Probably did. I don't recall it.
Yeah, but
Ahmed.
Oh, I did not remember that at all. All right, so Mace breaks into Khadija's flat, and so she's there when Khadija gets back home, and basically to try to get her to join the mission, tells her what the package or what the drive is and what it can do. And then what actually gets her to join up is that when she reveals that the bad guys killed Mace and breaks down the stakes of, all right, if they get whoever gets their hands on this could basically will cause World War III.
Was this the point? No, I think it's later where Mace touches the screen, Deeja's screen. No. There's somewhere where she touches the screen, and I like viscerally reacted because I'm like, that's not a touch screen. Because I would always hate it when people would like touch before touch screens were a thing. People would like touch the screen and then they're like oily gunk like all over my screen. And so anytime I see that, I just have such a visceral like, don't touch the screen. It's like touching art at a museum. Like it's just something that you don't do.
I think it's actually in the very next scene, because the next scene is they hack into those traffic cams to find Marie and figure out who she is. And we find out that apparently Marie's father also worked for BND, but sold secrets to the Russians in the early 90s. And so they're also following the cameras to see what happened to Nick, but there's a blind spot right there where he was supposedly killed. So Khadija, calls her partner is packing up her bag to help out Mace. And
what do you mean supposedly killed? Marks saw the body himself. He identified it.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Nope, cannot. So Khadija is packing up her bags and telling her partner that she's going to a tech conference, but he knows that she's really going back into the field. So as this is all going on, Graciela is still with Luis.
So supportive partner. Beautiful.
Take note, man.
So Graciela is still with Luis, trying to convince him to come in. Says that there are agents downstairs who are waiting for an answer, so he walks out with her. And as this is going on, Marie is watching from a cafe. They walk into a fish market or like a fish warehouse. And Mason and Khadija are also there and like watching as everything's going on. Marie takes out one of the guard who's trailing, and then Mason sees that. They get into a big fight, and as they're like still Luis and Graciela are still trying to escape and go through, one of the agents who's guarding them turns around and shoots Luis. And another one tries to fight the traitor, but the traitor kills him too, and then the traitor takes the bag that has the drive in it.
Can I just hold up real quick and zoom in on Carolyn's reaction when someone got shot right there? I don't know if we can replay that, but it was like, ooh. Like, like if I got shot, please have a bigger reaction than that.
That was tragic. That times 100.
So they track the traitor to the docks, and so Mace goes to go to find them. Graciela is yelling for help because Louise is shot. Marie comes out with. I thought she was going to go help Graciela, but nope, just goes after the traitor as well. But before he dies, Luis gives Graciela an encoded phone, which will only open to her fingerprint, and says, "Trust no one."
With his dying breath.
And it was at this point in the film that I thought, oh no, is it only about women because all the men die? I don't know how I feel about that.
I never thought about it that way, but okay. Yeah.
I mean, kind of.
I mean, Marie never had like a man that she like that.
Right.
That it was all her story. So, but yeah, I could see it for. Yeah, those
Is that
two.
why they just put men in the opening scene so that women didn't have to die?
Lauren, the male audience. It's for you too, man. Come hither. I don't think it is that, but again, these are, stream of consciousness thoughts at the time. I thought, oh no, is the only way that we can get an all-female spy movie cast is if we have men in the mix and then just slowly pluck them off.
They were in charge, but sorry, they're dead, so the women have to take over.
Yes.
That sort of thing. That would be an interesting premise.
Funnily that you say that, but that sort of thing is a trope. I can think of at least 3 different spy movies, or mostly parodies, where the unlikely character gets promoted because everyone else is like either they're killed or their, records are exposed. So who knows? Yeah.
And I don't know that this is a trope, but it is a thing that I saw in another spy movie, and I really liked it, so I would like to call it out.
Okay.
So there was fighting. Mace and I don't know, some other
The
person
traitor. Yeah.
were fighting,
Uh-huh.
and I really liked the nice like Jason Bourne shaky cam fight thing going on there. So I liked that. I don't know if that counts as a trope necessarily,
No,
but
it is. Shaky cam, yes. But so I will say I like this fight here, but in general, I hate shaky cam. I do, because I can't see you have no idea what's going on in the fight. So even if it is really good choreography, you have no idea because you can't tell anything's going on.
So I don't know how I feel about it in general, but at least in that scene, I thought it worked.
Oh, here, yeah, like it was you could see the choreography still, but it still felt visceral.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone is back out on the docks. That traitor guy, the agent who killed Luis, has made Khadijah as she's trying to tail her. So she's like, "All right, I need a distraction." And funnily enough, Marie crashes a forklift through some boxes to cause a giant distraction.
So Deej is out and about on the docks at this point. And I don't know why her contributions to the mission seem to be computer based.
Yeah.
Like when she's out in the field, she has her cell phone up and she's doing things on her phone. And I don't know why she isn't elsewhere behind a computer with 5 screens.
You want her
and
to be Luther in Mission Impossible in the van.
I guess, yeah. I know it looks cooler to be where the guns are, but I think we should make sitting behind a screen look cool. Can we sexify sitting behind a screen? Can we sexify sitting on our butts, please?
I mean, I feel like the Spider-Man movies did a long way to hyping up the importance of what they call the man in the chair, the guy who's behind the scenes, or the woman in the chair for that matter.
And I know like in the Amazon Jack Ryan series, we see him behind a screen, and I remember I liked that. But we notably see Jack Ryan behind a screen in that series for longer, I think, than we see Deej behind a screen, despite the fact that Deej's thing is
cyber intelligence,
computer based.
Okay, so I will say, to be fair to them, though, they right now they're a team of 2.
Yes,
it's just Mace and Khadijah. So if you're doing, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in our Spy Fact versus Spy Fiction, but if you're doing, a surveillance op on someone, you need at least 2 people.
Good point.
As they're all they're all chasing the traitor, and of course, Mace and Marie are both after him, and then there's have a minor scuffle. The guy jumps into a bunch of shipping containers. Mace chases after him in her heels. I'd at this point, Carolyn, you want to talk about that?
Snaps.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's going across this thin metal thing in heels. I'm like, you brought heels to a mission? What is this? Doesn't seem practical at all.
I agree.
But also at the same time impressive.
Yep, I was gonna say it's impractical, but mad props.
There you go. Yeah. But so they chase after him, but he gets away on a speedboat.
I appreciated the moment where all 3 of them were shooting at him at the same time. It was the first taste of teamwork. It's beautiful.
But so back at the fish market, Graciela has been taken by the French police. Marie goes up to one of the DSGE agents who's there. I forget what DSGE stands for.
Direction Générale de la Sécurité Extérieure.
Perfection.
There we go. Or in the translation is General Directorate for External Security. Marie goes up to one of the DSGE guys there and saying, like, he's just basically, oh, someone's shot in there, and basically trying to distract him as she steals his badge. There's some good a good lift there. She goes to the van where Graciela is being held and shows off her badge, pretending she's actually DSGE, takes Graciela, and brings her to a safe house.
I wrote in my notes, I wrote kicks. I don't remember what that refers to, but
like it laps.
I think there were some kicks that I really liked. That's all I got with that.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Carolyn starting new slang. This kicks, slaps.
There you go.
So Graciela tells Marie that she wants to call home and calls her kid
From a safe house, yeah.
from the safe house. This is the first where we get an idea of, okay, so Graciela not only is not an agent, but she also has like a family, like a husband and a kid. And then so Marie asks Graciela, what she knows about the drive. And again, she's not an agent, and so doesn't really know anything. And at this point, Mace and Khadijah burst into the safe house. Mace accuses Marie of getting Nick killed. This is where they have that counting that was in like every single trailer.
I really liked the countdown bit here.
You did? Okay,
yeah,
right.
I thought it was funny. Well, when Deej interjects.
Okay.
In particular,
because it's like, yeah, what? It's because they're very intense about like counting down, and then yes, it was good that Khadijah's like, all right, all right, go pull the trigger. What are you gonna do? Are you really gonna shoot each other?
Yeah, so it might not be clear what it is that we're talking about, actually. Yeah. So two women are, pointing guns at each other, and I'm going to shoot you in 10, and they just continue to count down, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then Deej, who is not in the battle, goes 1, and then nobody shoots, and yeah.
So they realize that, all right, the only way that they can figure out what's going on and who's behind all this is to join forces. At which point, Graciela reveals, all right, I actually do know something. I actually have a tracker on my cell phone for the drive. So Deej looks at it and reveals that, all right, so it is coded to her biometrics, so no, you can't fake that. And she needs to come along for the ride, and it's in Africa, in Morocco. Of course, Graciela just wants to go home because, again, she's not an agent. But Mace convinces her, tells her, all right, like if you don't help us, there's no way we can find it, and millions of people might die. 2, if you go home now, they know who you are. They'll trace it back to your family, and you'll bring this back to them. So
she reluctantly agrees, and they decide to join forces. Dun, dun, dun.
So Khadijah calls her boyfriend, tells her that's going to be a few more days, as everyone is basically calling their, significant others or families. Mace and Marie have a talk and just reveal, okay, yeah, both of them are probably very similar to each other and that they have no one else, really. So we go to our next location in Marrakesh, where they're tracking the trader and the drive. And so Deej is like on this else, is on a perch or somewhere with her computer looking, watching all the security cameras.
See? Exactly.
So they see the guy, they're watching him, they see what might have been a brush pass, and so they need to split up. So
I really appreciated on the screen because there was a lot happening, there were a lot of people moving by. This is going to sound sarcastic, but I really did appreciate that there were bright boxes around the people that we were supposed to be watching. Because otherwise, why are you showing me this crowd of people? I don't care. But the fact that there were, boxes following the people meant that I could visually track what was going on.
That did make it a lot easier. Yeah, that was handy. Very smart technology.
So I assume if this technology exists in the real world, that's also makes it very handy for people who are actually tracking these people, and not just for good cinematics.
I'm always impressed with the infinite databases that are just work everywhere and do everything. Have access to the whole world.
Yeah,
like you never have to worry about one system talking to each other. It's just already universal. Mm-hmm. It's great. I wish real life was like that.
Or do you really want Big Brother watching you like that?
Maybe not that specific. Pros and cons.
Yeah. Anyway, so everyone splits up. Khadijah and Mace go after the person who had the brush pass, and what was it? Marie and Graciela follow the guy who they're following initially, and that guy gets stabbed by a bunch of men.
I was getting really confused at this point. I was like, wait, who is the drive? Who is this new guy? Who's the old guy? Weren't they both bald too?
Probably. Yeah, no, there were.
They all, not to say that all like white guys look the same, but
that's true. They could have at least made them look a little more different. Like not have them both. I think were they both bald with beards too?
I think so.
Yeah.
But were they both Colombian or Arabic or I don't even know.
I think the guy who shot
The
Louise
first one
was Colombian. This guy I think he was Arabic.
From some Arabic country.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember one guy showed up on the screen and I was like, wait, were you just stabbed? Like
yeah, I did that. All right. Anyway, so they chased the guy who I don't know. Again, a lot of these characters feel like they didn't really have names, just sort of like attributes. So the new guy who has the drive is being chased. Marie gives Graciela a gun just in case. And the guy goes into a men-only haram, which, as a white woman, Mace would stick out like a sore thumb there. So Khadijah, grabs her scarf, puts it on as a head wrap, grabs some food, and brings it into the back, saying that she has the food for tomorrow.
Soap.
Is it soap? I thought it was okay.
That's
I
what
missed
she
that.
said. She said it was
I
soap.
also thought it looked like cake batter.
Yeah, it's not clear what it was.
Given my expertise in dessert and cake batter, clearly.
Yeah. I figured she was like posing as like a washerwoman or something.
Okay,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely does.
Now to bring a bowl of brownie mix, and that makes more sense.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, you're probably right. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Good job.
I mean, if I was going to a bathhouse, I would be pro brownie mix next to me. So
it was a very large bowl. For those who haven't seen it, it is a comically large bowl of
brown
what
goop.
I thought was brownie mix. And I didn't question it. I was like, yep.
Okay,
sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so she goes, puts it down, and is trying to like find out where the guy is. But as she does, she goes into an area where there are a bunch of men who are like, "What? You shouldn't be back here." So she fights all of them, and Mace comes in and helps her a little bit, but she takes out most of them. And now Marie and Graciela have eyes on the target, but there are also other people following them. Khadijah uses a cool cell phone trick to figure out, all right, who's on a private network. So she does some sort of burst, so it knocks out the nearby network. So everyone is looking on their phone and they can't get access to it. But the other ones who aren't looking at their phones are the ones who are actually on a private network, and they're the ones that would be chasing. So they find them. They start slowly taking out that other team. Marie, like, pretty brutally just like shoots a bunch of them very quickly.
I think before that she kills another one where she like grabs a handful of coins and tosses it on the ground.
That's right.
Which I thought was interesting because I feel like it was like one part to distract the kids to not watch this murder, but also to kind of put them in their way, so it kind of distracts the other guy to get generally distracted by it, so then she could take him out.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of sweet,
Anyway, so they've taken out all of the other team who was going after this guy, but they still have to get the drive from him.
Is now a good time to mention that I loved Mace's girl boss outfit, the white blazer and the hat. I enjoyed it.
It was very like explore, like a a glammed up version of like explorer in the 1930s who would be in in Marrakesh. Like,
yeah, it admittedly doesn't blend in necessarily, and it is a little surprising that they didn't think to wear hijabs up until like the therapist suggested at the very end of the scene. But out of context,
it's a great outfit.
I rock that. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, yeah.
I think you could rock that in Hawaii.
That'd be cool.
I think you did. Anyway, so as you said, so they're all trying to come up with the ways. All right, how do I take him out? How we can't be seen. And Graciela is the one who's like, no, yeah, you're right. You don't need to be you don't need to be out in the open. If you all put on headscarves
and sunglasses.
And then I like this how the three of them, like, they basically all bump him in a row. So he's ready for the first one, is like looking around. But when the second one and the third one knock him, and the last one is the one who grabs it, I was like, oh, that's good. All right. One, you would expect. Two is like, wait, what? And then three is like, oh, okay, I'm totally lost what's going on here. And he looks around, he has no idea who stole it from him.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Thanks, Graciela.
So Khadijah is analyzing the drive and, reiterates the stakes of, all right, this can take out basically anything. And they have a disagreement on whose agency is going to get the drive. Mace is like, all right, I can call my CIA. We have a team nearby. And, Maria's like, wait, why do you get it? Why shouldn't, B&D get it? It's like, well, where's your nearest person, basically? And I'm like, okay, fine, let's give it to... So they give it to the CIA boss. The CIA boss says, all right, well, we're closing the investigation on you. Also, everyone, it was a joint effort. So I'll contact all of your agencies and you all get commendations.
So the funny thing about this moment is I thought, wait, Mace is being investigated?
I mean, it was from that, but remember, it was all the way back. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but, it was when she was being interrogated after Nick's death.
Yeah, I didn't really understand why she was being interrogated. It seemed really
because she lost $3 million.
I mean, but that doesn't mean that she should be investigated for like being a double agent, which is what it sounded like was happening. And she did, as we talked about, really go hard for that $3 million.
True.
And it's when they handed it over, I thought, we're 45 minutes in? Like, no way.
We're done.
No way. Are we just going to wrap up right here? So I thought what was going to happen is that he was going to be a double agent. And then I thought, when we see what does happen, I was close. And then it turns out
we'll get to it. So they go to a bar to celebrate Graciela's first official mission in the field. And they're all talking about their own first missions. And, like Khadijah has a story about how she was tracking a cell phone signature in, was it Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And apparently the guy had hidden it rectally, let's just say. Or I think, what was Mace's first mission? I think, I don't remember what hers was.
She went 35 miles an hour straight into a cow.
Oh, that's right, the cow.
And I liked in that scene where they were drinking beers in the market cafe. It sounds silly, but they all looked kind of sweaty.
They didn't look perfectly made up. They looked like they'd actually been through something.
Yeah, it looks like at the beginning of the day, they had made themselves pretty, and then slowly throughout, at this point in the day, they became sweaty and their hair was frizzy, and I appreciated the look of, not exhaustion, but that they've been through something.
They've had quite a day.
Yeah.
They've had a day.
And so we find out that Marie's, what she considers her first mission, is when she was 12 and she heard her father speaking Russian, and she came downstairs and saw, blood on his hands and a dead body. And she turned in her own father for selling secrets to the Russian. And it's like, wow. And then, I think, what was it? Mace is the one who says, wow, you are officially the most screwed up of all of us.
Graciela was like, you should do therapy. Do you do therapy?
Say, no,
you probably should do therapy.
You should. Yeah. But as they're all, packing up and celebrating, the CIA boss is packing up everything. Here's a thump, and someone starts beating him up, and the reveal is it's a Chinese woman who says, "I'm not here for you," and then shoots him.
I had two thoughts when that part happened. The first one was, "I'm not here for you" from Hamilton. And then the second one was, as soon as someone started breaking in, I was like, are you kidding? Why did they think that was a good idea? 4 women just spent all day trying to defend this thing, and they left it with one guy who was not really guarding it. He didn't lock it up. He didn't anything. I was like, this was a terrible idea. Why did you trust this person by himself?
It's a fair point. But it actually has an explanation, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
So, in the bar, May sees a news report on planes crashing and also power going out in various places. And they check on the cell phone that Graciela still has, that the tracker has been turned off. So they go upstairs to the safe house and see that the CIA boss is dead. They start searching the place. The drive is gone, and cars are pulling up. And of course, this looks bad on their part. If they have just torn up the place looking for something and the dead body, it doesn't look good for them. So the CIA team comes in, they have a standoff. And as, they're about to, take out the women, Khadijah kills the lights and they take out that entire team. Once everyone has been taken out, Graciela has a breakdown and they, tell her, all right, you can't go home now. If you go home now, they will come straight for you. They'll never stop coming for you. So the other agents come in, and the backup forces come in, and we find out that all the CIA agents are alive still. They all have still got a pulse, because when the lights blacked and they heard gunshot like, did they just kill all those CIA officers? Because that would be bad. Turns out no.
Good. Ideal.
So they find a way out to an alley. Marie calls her boss and says that she needs an extraction.
May I give a dramatic reenactment of that
Sure.
phone call? Bling, bling. I need extraction, implying that she would tell Jonas where she is. Oh, wait, you're trying to trace me? You dickwad! And then she breaks the phone. End scene.
Yes, but also, yeah. Apparently, yeah. So we get like a zoom in on or zoom out from him where phone, and then we zoom out and we see that he's being monitored by other people. And yeah, they're tracing the call. I think what tipped her off is that he's trying, like, saying, what do you know what's going on? Asking all these questions to try to stall her because he needs the full 40 seconds to trace the call. But she
saw right through it.
Which is interesting because I think it was also in the very first Mission Impossible, they have something very similar, except Ethan Hunt is trying to get the agents to chase him in London, and so he's like watching a clock to see how many seconds he has, so that they can at least trace him to somewhere, but not at his exact location. That's what I thought of during this scene. And that was also, I think, 40 seconds. Has it just not changed in the 20-something year, or almost 20 years since the first Mission Impossible? Or wait, no, more than 20.
I thought it used to be like 2 minutes or something, but like maybe it's gotten shorter. Who knows?
I just Googled it, and one thing just in these blurbs that pops up says it can take up to 30 minutes, and another blurb says it only takes 2 seconds. So really, who knows?
All right.
That's a range. That's
quite the range. So as you said, Sarah, she hangs up the phone, takes out the SIM card from her phone, smashes it. The team goes to find the guy who they stole the drive from. Is this when, Sarah, you're like, wait, didn't he get stabbed? Because I had forgotten that the guy they stole the drive from was still alive. So they want to know what he knows. He says nothing. Khadijah tries appealing to some of the tenets of Islam and saying, that someone who kills a believer shall be damned for, I don't remember the exact quote, what her line was. And that's not working on him.
Yeah, I thought that was nice that they were using Muslim tenets to
It's meeting people where they're at.
Appeal to his morality.
That was a good move. But unfortunately, it didn't work. So then Marie shoots him in the femoral artery. And they say, okay, we can save you by tying a tourniquet. But if we don't, then you're just going to bleed out. So he reveals there's an auction in 2 days in China, that the planes were just a demonstration. And that they're going to sell this in 2 days for the highest bidder, basically.
More than 3 million, perhaps.
We go over to the Brit in his mansion, and he gets a call from, I assume, the same guy, and he finds out that they're after him. We have a little short scene on a cargo plane where Marie and Mace talk again, sort of bonding over how messed up both of them are, really. And Mace talks about how she can't sleep; it's an occupational hazard, and yeah. So we come to Shanghai. Graciela and Khadijah call their loved ones, and after that, they lay out the plan. In this location, Khadijah can't just hack in. Here's her reason for why she's on site. Because she can't actually hack into it. She needs physical access to the system.
Yeah, and that made sense. That makes sense.
And apparently, there is a legitimate art auction going on, but at the same time, there's a secret auction on the dark web. Certain art auction items are linked with actual other things. What they need to do is they need to make new friends to identify what is actually the item that is being auctioned that is linked to the drive.
Oh, fancy party trope. Ding.
Yeah.
Got to socialize to find out information.
Yeah. So they're all dressed up in nice outfits. Khadijah goes up into the air vent to get access. She's able to link to the network from there, guides the women to their targets.
They have a camera in their jewelry and comms in their earrings. They can keep track of everything. It's probably more subtle than like having like an earpiece or something.
And yeah, so it was bugging me like that Mace constantly touching her ear so much. Like she's supposed to be one of the most experienced. Like Khadijah's never touching her ear. Marie never touched, but anytime that Mace is like trying to, she's got her hand like right there.
I think it was Penelope Cruz. She kept messing with. I think it was the wig.
No, I think it was the earrings.
Oh, it was the earrings. She kept saying she kept reaching back and saying they're so itchy, and I felt that.
It might have been a wig. I don't know. You could have been that. Also, it makes sense for her to be the one complaining as the non-field agent.
Yeah.
There's a Chechen warlord, Chechen something. I just assume a warlord, trying to flirt with Graciela. We find out she's bad at flirting, so Khadijah sort of talks her through it. All right, this is not flirting. Think of it as like as a therapist session. You're trying to find out what he knows, so just use what you would do to get that information. As this is going on, Marie and Mace do a little thing where Mace spills her drink on someone they have a program, and they know that they're someone who'd actually be interested in the actual item. So as Mace spills the drink on her, Marie grabs the program from him, dusts it, and sees that he hasn't gone past the first 3 pages, and so it must be something on that page. And as they're all getting into position, Mace sees someone familiar, so she goes off.
Flash of someone. Who could it be?
I don't know. So Graciela is trying to get info from the Chechen, so she's doing all this very cool analysis of, all right, what are you bidding for? What would be a man of your stature? You have enough weapons already. Now a mirror, no, you already know what you see in the mirror, and it's got to be the dragon's head vase. And like as she's doing this, Khadijah's on the video, looking at his pupils if they're dilating, and he's changing his voice, and so it's apparently the dragon head's vase. And so once they've realized that, the auction is about to start, but Mace is not in position because she has gone to see that Nick is alive. Okay, who was actually surprised by this?
No,
I think I was.
No,
I don't remember.
I was not.
I wrote down other things about that interaction.
Thought it was a little too convenient that the camera didn't catch his death. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I was more surprised that he died, quote unquote. Like that they just breezed over that so much. Like, wait, he died? When did that happen? Like, what's going on?
But yeah, so Nick, as he sees Mace, says hello to Khadijah on the camera and then takes off the necklace and puts it in his pocket. He says that, I'm not here on an official op. Things have changed. I was like, that's ominous.
Yeah, how did she not realize that more quickly than she did? That they weren't on the same side?
Because she was distracted. I don't know.
They had some line about that, didn't you? Like when your life is all lies. I think that's later in the movie. But it says something like when your life is all lies,
like you can't tell what's true or something.
Can't tell what's true. Yeah.
So the Chinese woman who stole the drive from the CIA boss is actually the one who's opening the auction. So hey, the alarm bell is going off there. But as they're all in position, besides Mace, Khadijah loses access to the network because someone is blocking her access, like on their phone. So she needs to go and reposition. Nick is working for the terrorists.
Boo.
And the vase comes out to the auction, and so we get the good, nice view of the vase, which is some sort of old Chinese, dragon head vase, which looks pretty cool. Nick is actually so Mace is still with Nick. He's trying to convince her, come with me, let's leave all this behind, and we can go away together. And Mace is incredulous that Nick is trying to work an angle on her. Points out that you're still wearing the ring, the fake engagement ring from when we were undercover. And
it would have been so much more convenient. Like, if I recognize we're different people, but if I were her, just lie and say that you'll join him. Otherwise, if you, you're gonna have to fight people. You could just walk out.
That's a very fair point.
Walk out with him. But if you are honest and say, just a quick, sure, would love to join you on the dark side. Let's be besties. And then they waltz out, and then she doesn't have to fight someone for half.
She's got too much honor.
Just some ideas.
I don't know.
She doesn't do that, and so Nick has a guard set, keep her in the room. But of course, once. So why does she wait until Nick leaves to start fighting the guard? I don't know.
Shrug.
But so they have a really brutal fight, and there's this one part of which was in the trailers I always was appreciative of, where she does these really quick strikes to him, and then to his chest, and then to the head. It's which doesn't knock him out, but it was really fast and looked really good. But as she's fighting the guard, Nick comes out to the auction, makes a big bid. The other women on the team see him, and Khadijah, can't get access to the lights anymore. She can get access to everything else but the lights, so she can't kill the lights, and they can't steal it, which was their initial plan. So the new plan is they're going to tag the vase, since they no longer have tracking from the cell phone. They have to track it somehow. So they're going to tag the vase, but unfortunately they're not close enough. So Graciela tries to get closer to tag the vase by going up, sitting next to the Chechenian. And she's still not close enough, but then she turns to the Chechenian and says, "Are you ready to leave?" And "Oh, yes, let's go." And so as they get up, they're in the front row. She drops her clutch right next to the vase, and that gives Khadijah enough time to actually plant the trace on it from there, and then picks up her clutch. So in the back room, Nick has won the auction, and he says he wants a demonstration of the drive. As this is happening, Marie and Khadijah go to take out the guards who are guarding them. Mace finally gets free from that one guard, and Marie and Khadijah use an explosive to take out a bunch of other guards, and which of course gets everyone's attention, including the local police. So police are on their way, and there's no way for the Chinese woman, whose name we have not heard yet, but if we find out her name's Lynn, to sort of shut down that alarm. So Nick, in his fury and haste, just grabs the drive and goes without a demonstration. So Marie and Khadijah are surrounded by security guards. I'm not sure who they are exactly.
Goons.
Yeah, goons. Lynn comes over and says, "Put down your guns, or you're going to die, definitely." So Khadijah and Marie do. And then she tells all the goons to put down their guns. And so, all right. And Lynn says, "Go." And they're like, "What?" "All right, go." Okay. So they don't waste any time. They run out, and they're looking around. Mace sees Nick outside, and this is where she does what you wanted her to do in the first place, Sarah, where she pretends to want to go with him, and brings him in close, kisses him.
She thought about it too late. She forgot it was an option.
And of course, as she's kissing him, all the other women see this, wait, what's going on? But of course, it was just a distraction to steal his gun, and gets him at gunpoint. But Nick calls her bluff and says, "You can't shoot me because you won't shoot it into a crowd." Except, yes, she would, because she definitely did that already. But she can't pull the trigger, so he gets away, and then she shoots at his car afterwards. It's all right, you couldn't shoot at him point blank, but you could shoot it at his car as he's leaving. Okay. And they're about to get arrested, but Lynn comes by with a car for all of them, says, get in the car, and brings them to a safe house and reveals that she works for the ministry, which I'm going to echo. We've not covered the first Kingsman movie yet, but there's a scene in the first Kingsman movie where they're saying, all right, MI6, CIA, FSB, and Beijing are all in. And Sam Jackson makes comments like, isn't that's the sign of a real good intelligence agency where you don't actually know what their name is.
The interesting thing about the involvement of Chinese security, I both hated it because it was just so convenient and loved it because of the vision that it has for the world. That all of these countries and all of these intelligence agencies can all see the good in people and they can put aside political considerations for the greater good. Because if we contrast that with what we see day to day in the real world, people are refusing to put a piece of cloth over their face to prevent other people from dying. So I enjoyed the picture that it presented from the world.
I appreciate that.
But it was a little convenient.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you have representation of a lot of the rest. You have Latin America, you have Europe, and you have America. But yeah, you need some Asian representation there.
I agree.
Lynn is played by Fan Bingbing, who I know she's been in stuff, but I can't think of what she's been in. The only thing that's coming to mind here is that she was in one of the X-Men movies.
She's popular in China.
She's very popular in China, but I feel like there's something else that she's. Oh, no.
The Eternals?
Is she in the Eternals? No.
Did
that pop up for you? And
maybe it popped up for me.
I don't see that here. No. Yeah. So Lynn brings them back to a safe house. Tells them that her bosses were including her father, who was also an intelligence agent for China, decided that all right, it would be actually not rather than just taking this drive and then locking it into putting under lock and key and never having it out, we can use this as an opportunity to identify a bunch of terrible people who would be after this drive, and now we can actually start to do and get intel on them once they reveal themselves for this auction. Which is like, oh, you know what? That's a pretty good strategy.
Yeah.
And also, Lynn reveals that the drive that Nick stole was not the real drive, but it was actually a decoy. And that not only was Nick working with the Brit to do this, the CIA boss was also working with the Brit.
Dun, dun, dun.
That I did not see coming.
So there you go, Sarah. You were right.
So at the beginning I was like, oh, he is definitely going to be a traitor. And then he gets shot. I was like, oh, well, I was close. And then it turns out I was right. And he is a traitor.
So this answers your questions, your criticisms, Carolyn, of, all right, why did they, why is are they not really guarding it that well? And is that shut up? It's because he wasn't going to take it back. It's because
they're all evil.
He was going to sell it back to the Brit.
Very suspicious. I feel like I was very suspicious of a lot of things surrounding Marks, but I didn't make the leap. Even though it was very suspicious that they gave it to him alone and he didn't seem very careful about it. And he was the only one to ID the body that Nick was dead.
And how did he get there? Wasn't he in Washington like 2 seconds ago?
And we found out that Nick was alive, and I still didn't suspect anything. Should have suspected all the things.
Yeah. But so Nick is with the Brit in his mansion and says he wants his cut, but...
Wait, and did you say that Marks was the one that had down the plane?
Oh, no, I didn't say that. Yeah, the CIA boss Marks was also the ones who brought down the planes.
So evil. But
yeah, so back at the Brit's mansion, Nick wants his cut, but the Brit reveals that it was a decoy and has his men beat the crap out of Nick.
And what are they doing with the original? Are they destroying it?
Not yet.
That's a good point, Carolyn.
What are they holding it around for?
Which then begs the question, are there good uses for it? And I think so far we've said no, but...
I'm sure there are some. I just can't think of what they are. So sharing kumbaya something. There's got to be something in there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely like a backdoor share kumbaya button that they were looking for. So where's the share kumbaya?
Yes. That's why they're keeping it around.
Yeah, that button kills 500 million people. This one shares kumbaya.
Explains everything.
So Khadijah calls her partner again, says she'll be on the first flight back. Graciela FaceTimes her family, and as this is going on, Mace and Marie have another chat about being betrayed because Mace is beating herself over the fact that she didn't see Nick's betrayal coming, and Marie, who has personal experience and even more profound because she was 12 and it was her father, so talks her through it.
Girl definitely needs some therapy. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, so Mace is starting to feel a little bit better, so she goes looking for tea, and Lynn finds her and helps her, brings her some tea.
I appreciated the herbal tea discussion.
What about you with the herbal tea discussion?
There should be more herbal tea discussions in movies. I would be there for that.
But yeah, so Khadijah also talks to Lynn and talking about the drive and how, like they said, how can something so beautiful, and talking about the encryption on it, also be so dangerous, And as they're talking, a bunch of men storm into the safe house with Nick leading them. He wants to drive. You can see that he's been beat up quite a bit, and takes over some of the screens and reveals that they have Khadijah's partner, Graciela's family, Marie's boss. And then he, just to twist the knife further, and he says to Mace, "Yeah, we would have gotten someone for you, but you have no one." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay. Well, she used to have you, and then you turned out to be a douchebag."
Mm-hmm.
Nick is very demanding, saying, "Give me the drive now." And very quickly we see. So it was unclear here. I thought I thought he shot Lynn.
Oh.
Yeah, we had to rewatch that like 3 times, and we were still confused on who got shot first.
He killed her dad, right?
Yeah, that's what we figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only showed it for like a split
And
second.
then we see her drop. I was like, "Oh, did he kill Lynn?
Oh.
You just introduced this Chinese agent and then killed her off that quickly?" But no, she's just falling to her knees because she's in shock for her father being killed. But they also very quickly kill Marie's boss.
They very quickly killed him.
And then Khadijah's partner. Just like, oh my god,
very
wow.
quickly. If we could just put 30 seconds.
It was so sad.
Couldn't believe we've established enough of a connection with Khadijah's partner. We want him to live. We know he's innocent in all of this. And I didn't think that he was gonna get shot. Like I thought, well, with the German boss, fine.
We don't really know Lynn's father, so it's like, oh, it's shocking, but it was not. But also, it was unclear whether he got shot or her got shot for us. So, like, okay, that's so shocking. But the one it was like they didn't even linger on it that much. It was like, all right, shot, done. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it just. And when they went back to the screen later, and Mace is like, just like, don't show us his dead body anymore. Like I thought, oh, maybe he's gonna not be dead. Like maybe it's gonna be a fake. No, he died. He was shot in the head and died on screen.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like a pre-record, like fake out thing or something like that they did.
Yeah, because they did that in 24.
Yeah.
So if you remember back in the days of Jack Bauer, they faked like an assassination of a terrorist family to get
that was messed up.
To get a thing. So yes, but they didn't act like Jack Bauer and co. didn't actually kill the family. They just somehow like faked it to get a confession or like tell me where the bomb is, whatever. So I thought, oh, maybe like it's fake. Nope. Which.
But these are bad guys doing this, so no, they wouldn't go to that show.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he'll appear in the sequel somehow. Somehow he survived.
Which then makes Nick like pure evil. Like doing this, you're unredeemable at this. Like you are a James Bond villain level of evil. Like you are not a good person.
Yeah, just shot all those people in cold blood.
There is no shade of gray. Like you are a bad person.
Yep.
They've killed all of these people, and they are about to kill Graciella's family. Graciella is shouting, begging, everyone else to give them the drive, please, just give them the drive. And then Mace finally relents, and then Lynn says, can I stand? I'll give you the drive. So she goes with them and shows them where it is. They take her because they need her to decrypt the drive.
So, really, before we get off the killing of the families, so I was struck by, I guess, the timing, because they did ultimately relent and give up the drive in order to save her family. And if they could have done that like 30 seconds before, like they should have known, like after killing.
Well, he did do it really fast.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's so fast that there was no chance for him to even say.
I didn't think he was actually gonna do it.
I mean, it was really fast, but after killing the father and the German guy, like if at that point they said like, oh, wait, or hold, like something, they could have saved Deja's partner. And the extra heartbreaking moment for me was Deja saying, like, shaking her head, no, like, don't do it. And I thought, like, of course she doesn't want you to do it. She just lost her partner and she doesn't want that death to be in vain. Like, save them all. Like, or, like, either stick to saving none of them or, like, try to save more people.
That kind of parallels the scene earlier with the guy that they shot in the femoral artery, and she says, we should have done it the easy way. And, I could have seen Sebastian Stan saying that same line.
That's true.
But but it was more evil. Way more evil. I don't know. I agree. They should have lived forever. I wanted to see them come back together and be happy.
So Lynn gives them the drive, and they take her with them. And so this goes to that scene you were talking about where, Khadijah's partner's body is still on the camera. And,
it's got to be just a freeze frame. Not real.
So, yeah, Mace tells me, can you shut that off? Do something. We don't need to see that. And as she's about to, it turns to something else, and we're not sure. So you see Nick's face on the monitors, and it's like, okay, what's going on? And they realize, wait, Lynn is transmitting from her glasses, which have a built-in camera, and we can track her and figure out where they're going. So Khadijah gets to work to track them. Graciella calls her family, makes sure that they're okay, tells them to go to the police and just stay there. And they find that they're at a hotel that's about 6 miles away or something like that. And as they're going through the safe house, Marie finds the weapons locker, which they can use to get into that. So Lynn is decrypting the drive with Nick at the hotel, and we find that the team has taken the hotel room directly above them. Marie is setting demolitions, which is part of her expertise. Mace can't get the right angle for to see them, so she climbs outside of the building and climbs down onto the balcony. And they can still see through Lynn's glasses how much time they have left before the decryption is done, but they need more time.
I had another thought at this point in time, that if Lynn was the one to go and attack Marks, why couldn't she have just stood outside the door before they gave it to him and been like, hey, you probably shouldn't give this to this guy?
Would they really listen, though? If a Chinese agent is telling you your boss is dirty, a Chinese agent who you've never met before and have no relationship with.
I feel like we could have avoided a lot of turmoil in this movie if they had just had a conversation.
I would have been, if everyone believed in that scenario, I would have Christian it. Like, it's real sus. Like you're a CIA agent and an unknown Chinese intelligence officer says, no, don't give it to me. I'd be like, girl.
That was my thought, though. So, sorry, continue.
Fair enough.
But it's a good thought. It's a good thought.
They need more time, but they don't have any more time, and the drive isn't completely decrypted. So, and as they're taking away Lynn, Lynn, who somehow knows that they need more time, starts fighting the guards who are taking her away. And it's a really good fight scene here. I liked it a lot.
That's pretty good.
And that buys them just enough time so that they can, plant all the explosives and cause a giant explosion, which also makes a giant hole in the ceiling of the hotel room. But unfortunately, of course, in the explosion, Mace is nearly knocked off the balcony and is hanging Tom Cruise style, one arm from the balcony.
Good. She's probably done a lot of rock climbing.
Significant upper arm strength.
Yeah. Marie and Khadijah do this really cool, just a really cool jump down through the ceiling hole, firing as they're coming down. Graciela opts not to do this and goes in the elevator, and we see that she actually has a gun, in the back of her waistband.
I really liked the juxtaposition of her in the elevator, the calm, pure white, silent elevator, and switching back from the dark hotel room with lots of things going off. And I liked the switching back and forth.
This is me. This is my floor.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Mace finds Nick. They have their own, showdown because, of course, there's a lot of feelings there. And there are many times where I thought Mace was going to throw Nick off of that balcony.
But it never happened.
No. And so as this is going on, Khadijah and Marie are going for the drive, and they each get close enough to it, but then a bunch of gunfire comes away, so they can't get close enough. Eventually, all of the other goons are killed, and Marie gets the drive, holds it up, and as soon as she gets it,
Was not looking around. They're just so excited they didn't check their perimeter to make sure that they were actually alone. Classic mistake.
So I'll wait to share my thought after Christian explains what happens next.
So, as if you can tell by our criticisms, as soon as she does that, she gets shot in the shoulder by Nick.
Who is not dead.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So we see Mace come in from the balcony, and then we know that Nick then shoots German girl. So I'm sorry. So that means that Mace just left Nick on the balcony.
Well, she knocked him out and then, didn't even tie him up or anything. Yeah.
So she just turned her back on him and obviously didn't restrain him well or knock him out. Because 10 seconds later, he's up, walking in the room and shooting people. So maybe we should do something else there.
Should have been a little stricter. Definitely.
I'm also surprised that she didn't kill him. Just with how mad she was at him.
I do love the next bit.
Yeah. So as they're panicking, well, not panicking, but as they're in the shock of, Marie getting shot by Nick, then we see Nick get shot, and it's revealed that Graciela is the one who shoots him with a nice clean shot. Yeah.
I thought that was great.
She made it from the elevator.
I thought that was great. Go girl.
Not bad for just a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm just an Sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
Khadijah finally does the smart thing and destroys the drive.
Exactly. Finally. What were we waiting for, people? Come on.
But as soon as that happens, all of them are taken into custody by the Chinese authorities. And Lynn says, all right, I'll just need to make a call. Don't worry.
At this point, I expected it to be over, and then the sequel was going to be about all of them in a Chinese prison breaking out.
Would be a cool movie. I would watch that.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
But also, it's revealed that Nick is still alive. The gunshot from Graciela did not kill him.
Just can't die.
Yeah. And then we cut to 2 months later. The Brit is making some calls. Nick enters the mansion. It's just the two of them because Nick has killed all of his men who were on site. And then Nick kills the Brit with 5 gunshots.
We're pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah. So one would think so. We go back to DC, where we find that Nick is the new CIA boss replacing Marks.
What?
Yeah. What?
So he's not the director, but he's a department head of
This
something.
is just ridiculous.
How is he still working there?
That is a very good question.
Ridiculous.
Did he get promoted because he killed the Brit guy?
I don't think
Or
so.
we don't really know, I guess,
No,
right?
no way.
Nick goes home, and the third of the recurring bits of breaking into someone's house and waiting until they're there, Mace is there. She says she wants to know how the agency promoted him.
Hey.
I also have questions.
Apparently, the reason he is because there's more corruption in the CIA. So it wasn't just him and Marks. So those people protected him and got him promoted. And this is where
Don't like it. I
Mace
don't like it.
tells the story of Agent 355, and Nick says, "Well, no one knew who she was," and Mace says, "No, someone knew. They just didn't want the world to know about her."
Trying to cover it up.
Yeah, so they're having drinks. They're having like whiskey together, and at this point, I was like, "Is it? You're being very nonchalant about this. What? Something's got to be up." He says, "I'm not feeling well. Maybe I just need to eat something." But then the rest of the team appears out from around the corner, and Lynn reveals it's an ancient Chinese poison where you do put I don't remember what all the animals were. I think it was like a scorpion, a spider, a snake, a bunch of things, and they all until they all ate each other and dissolved into.
Put them in a jar and they had to attack each other and released all their venom, and that's what they distilled and turned into this poison.
Which was in the ice, which Mace didn't take.
Of course it was in the ice.
Point for no ice. I support no ice.
Unless you're in Hawaii and it's really hot, in which case I will allow ice. Unless it is poisoned, in which case I would advise against ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good guiding recommendations.
Mace gives Nick back the ring from the fake engagement and says that she has people coming to arrest or take him in and put him in the deepest, darkest hole on the other side of the world, basically. That she still has connections. So they leave Nick's apartment and they say, all right, all of our agencies still have corruption. So someone should do something about that. But they all go their separate ways, and everyone has hugs, and Marie and Mace do that awkward thing where you say goodbye and you're walking in the same direction.
Yep. So the only reason that they all came together was to stand there dramatically in Nick's apartment?
Pretty much. I mean, hey, for dramatic effect, yes.
They wanted to watch Nick go down.
Or we don't actually know that they weren't all together from that point. Because we saw they're all together being arrested by the Chinese. So maybe Lynn's the one who arranged for airfare for them.
Fair point.
Or transport. And then Marie and Mace have an awkward goodbye, and then Mace disappears, doing the thing that it's a cliche and it's a trope, but I love it when you have the person standing on the street and then a bus passes by and then they're gone. And with that, our movie ends.
Dun, dun.
All right. Shall we have some spy fact versus spy fiction?
Sure.
As Mace detailed in the end scene, the movie, The 355, is named after Agent 355, who was part of George Washington's Culper spy ring. She was the first female spy for the U.S. Her real identity is unknown. There's a few people who may have fit that. Now, if you know anything about the Culper spy ring, they had a very particular code or a way of encrypting things. So for certain common words, like you have one number that would mean a certain word, and for other things which didn't have an actual specific word in the code, there was a way to make that that word into something else. But the number 355 in the Culper spy code is the code for lady.
Very vague.
So there's a few different people it could have been. One of whom was Anna Strong, who was the neighbor of Abraham Woodhull, who was part of the ring. Another theory is she may have been Robert Townsend's common-law wife. But apparently, Agent 355 was arrested in 1780 when Benedict Arnold defected to the Loyalists, and she was imprisoned on the HMS Jersey, a prison ship where she may have given birth to a son, but later died on that prison ship.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, and we don't know. That's weird that we know that, but nothing else.
Well, that's a rumor, is that there's also no record Some like according to another historian, that there no females were kept aboard prison ships, and there was no record whatsoever of any births. So we don't really know. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so that is the story of Agent 355. There have been other references to her in other shows, such as Turn, Washington Spies, which deals with the Copper Ring. Also in the recent show, Why the Last Man, there is a modern spy that goes by Agent 355.
Mhm.
Oh, I think I knew that and then forgot. It's been a really long time since I read Why the Last Man.
Talked about it briefly, and they call it out. A brush pass is a general term for a technique where two people approach each other and without stopping pass a piece of information or paper or something to each other without stopping. Usually like there's sometimes you have a little bit of a shoulder bump or something as they're colliding to distract from the fact that they're exchanging information. Now, I talked about earlier, and I said I would mention it. So I took a class from Eric O'Neill called Surveillance 101 with the Spy Museum, which taught you how to basically tail a target working within a team. And from what Eric O'Neill told us in that you're always working with a team, you're never alone, especially if you get burned. So I thought a good example was one when they're working through the crowd on the docks, and Khadijah says the target's seen me, so I'm burned, so they need someone else to take the lead. And then again in I think was it Marrakesh, where they use some good terminology when say I have eyes on this one, which just means that I'm the one who has actually sight of the target. Other people can fall back. But yeah, the class that I did, they offer it at once every year or so. It's very cool. But if you don't remember who Eric O'Neill is, he is the guy who helped catch Robert Hansen, was played by Ryan Philippe in the movie Breach. And that's what I've got for Spy Fact versus Spy Fiction. Shall we move on to favorite quotes? Which of you ladies would like to go first?
Carolyn can go first.
Sure, I'll go first. I have a few, so should I just pick a couple?
Sure.
Say them all.
I don't know, steal all yours. I liked during the auction after they had put the electronic tag on the base, and Graciela is walking away with the sketchy guy. I don't remember his name.
Chechnyan. We don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Warlord. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Bald
then,
guy warlord. Yep.
And then I think
Another
it's Marie.
bald guy.
They're trying to make all the men look the same in this movie, I think.
It worked. Good job.
And I think it's Marie that kind of cuts in, and she says, she's with me. I was like, ha, that's so great. I like that one.
I liked that a lot too.
Yeah.
Also because I felt, you guys know, right? Like if you're with a guy and you want to be rescued.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want someone to come to you, put their arm around you, and save you.
That's a good one.
She's with me.
I'll be putting that one in my pocket for the future. My second quote was at the end, where they're in Nick's house and they're talking about the ice. I just like that exchange. He goes, "Ice? You know I never have ice. Such a tough guy." I just like that. It turns out that was an important exchange. So I have two more. Should I do them?
Sure.
Actually, I'll just do one more. At the very end, and as Mark is getting carried away to a prison, or not Mark, sorry, Nick.
Nick.
Gets carried away to a prison, presumably. She goes, "A girl really does need a guy to explain it all to her." That was silly.
Sounds
All
good.
right. All right, Sarah?
So I also have a couple, and I will start with when the ladies all first meet each other in the safe house, and Marie says to Mace something like, "How did you know that about me?" And Mace says, "We're spies, asshole." Good. I also enjoyed when they were drinking beers in the market cafe after they had the successful operation. Mace is saying, I went 35 miles an hour straight into a cow. We did already cover that, but I thought it was funny. And I think this was to Deej, but I'm not 100% sure. The therapist says, it's not your fault. And Deej says, that's what therapists always say. Which,
Not
I
untrue.
don't know, just struck me as worthy of being written down.
All right.
Can I do one more? Because I feel like we didn't really touch on this point, and I don't know if we would do it at a different time. But also at the pretty much at the end, Nick says, "If you think Marks and I were the only ones who got wise, you never really knew who you were working for." And I don't know how I feel about that whole implication that all intelligence agencies are corrupt. That just is a fearsome thought, and I feel like
I thought that I'm just going to jump on it and talk about it now with you. So it felt, I guess, a little bit convenient as a plot device in order to drive all of our female protagonists sort of out of their respective agencies and to come together. It was a little bit like an Avengers Assemble moment. And I think a sequel will actually be better than this one, because in a sequel, we could just jump into the world without having to call the Avengers together, without having to go into the backstory, or having, I don't want to say contrived moments, but without having to have that maybe slightly awkward dialogue in order to get some plot points out in order to establish backstory, because it's already established. So the next one we could just jump in. But that's what I think that's what they were trying to do with that.
Interesting. Okay.
I can see it.
So my quotes, Sarah did take one of mine. They wear spies, asshole. That was good. I also liked, I think it was Marie said, only an idiot isn't scared. It's like, all right, yeah, good. I think, and I'm trying to remember who said this.
That was good.
The line that said that's James Bond doesn't have to deal with real life. James Bond always ends up alone. And I think it was like two different people. I think it was like Mace says the first part, and then Khadijah says the second part.
I was gonna say, I know Mace was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
In that quote.
And then my last quote is from Mace, and she says, "You know the old wars, Cold War, War on Terror. We knew who we were fighting, but now the enemy's invisible, like ghosts in the machine." Which I think is, it's fairly accurate. We it's moved away from state-based actors, and now it's non-state based, and it's harder to find that intel and find out what's happening and where the attacks might come from. So I thought it was very poignant and accurate statement. All right, shall we go into our reviews?
Yes.
As always, we rate our movies on a scale of 1 to 10 martinis, 1 being so bad it's worse than Avengers 1998, and 10 being even better than No Time to Die if you're Lance. All right, but before we go, wait, what's this? I'm getting a transmission. Oh, I've got a message from Zach, and he has told me that despite being deep undercover in, infiltrating Spectre, he found time to give us a review. So Zach says he gives the 355 a rating of 5 out of 10 martinis because it's an average movie. The MacGuffin hunt plot was derivative of a lot of these secret agent movies, including Night and Day and The Spy Who Dumped Me. The action was fine. Jessica Chastain doesn't exactly scream action hero, but it worked for me. I was going to bump it up a half martini for the scene where the bad guys actually killed some of their family members because it defied expectations in a good way. But then I knocked it back down because the last couple of scenes with Sebastian Stan didn't make a lot of sense. Why did he avoid consequences with the higher up for anything that happened? And how was he able to kill the bad guy again with no consequences? Also, and was they all just leave? Weren't they supposed to make the 355? Whatever. Pretty forgettable movie, but inoffensive, so I gave it an average rating. And that's Zach's opinion. What are your opinions?
And that's Zach's opinion. I wish Zach were here so we could interrogate some of those points. My favorite part of that review is 5 out of 10 because it's an average movie. And like, not that that's right or wrong. It just struck me as very funny. I'm going to give it an average rating because I don't know why. That just struck me as funny. You can cut this. That wasn't an insightful thing to say, but I thought it was funny.
All right. So who wants to go first? Sarah?
Yeah, sure. I'm talking still. I thought Jessica Chastain was delightful in this movie. And I think all of the acting, this is, I guess, mostly to address Zach's point that he didn't see Jessica Chastain in this role. I thought all of the actresses did really disappear into their roles. The family shooting scene comes to mind, like looking around the room, like A+ all around for everybody. I do have conflicting thoughts about the film. I agree with some of what Zach said in that there are certainly some similarities in this film to other spy films. And the dialogue doesn't necessarily seem like things that people would say. It's a little bit stilted, maybe, to get some information across. Like, when was the last time you were in the field alone? I know it was, or no, that's not it. The last time you were in the field alone was when something happened. And no, that's not it. Anyway, that bit.
Yeah, right. I remember that. Yeah.
And when German boss dad says on the phone to Marie, like, when did you start trusting people? It's a good line, but it doesn't seem like something that one would say or be heard in that situation. It serves to establish backstory and character and motivation. And that isn't an issue like unique to this movie. But it did a little bit take me out of the world. That being said, I am glad that society is in a place where we can have a female cast do all the dumb things that we usually see men do. It sounds like I'm kidding, but it really is a lot of progress. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything in this movie was for me, but it is nice to have representation, a diverse group of women from around the world. I mean, we went through, as we were talking, like counting all the tropes, all the similarities to things. And if you haven't seen any other spy movies, I think you would enjoy this movie a lot more because some of the things that happened would be a little bit newer and a little bit, I guess, more surprising. So because I'm not new to the genre, some things were a little bit repetitive. But again, the fact that we're seeing women doing all of those things is much better. So I have conflicting feelings. So as a spy film, I would rate it lower than, is this film good for society?
All right.
So as a spy film, because it's repetitive, I suppose, I would probably go 4 martinis out of 10. As I'm glad this movie exists in the world movie, and recognizing that, you know, if we sort of snap to the line as assuming there were no other spy movies in existence because there aren't any other movies like this with women. So it kind of makes sense to start from that 0 point. So if we are starting from that 0 point, then I would give it a higher score. I don't know what that would be exactly. I guess just to stay even, I guess that would be 8. But yeah, as a spy film, let's go 4. I guess somewhat arbitrarily, and go as a film that I think should exist in society. That's not a rating. You can't rate that.
I'll give it to you. I think that should be a rating.
Thanks.
So how many martinis are you actually giving? Is it 4?
Yes.
Okay. Carolyn?
That's lower than I expected. I liked the 8 for the movies that should exist rating.
Yeah, so it depends on what scale you're looking at. Like, so for an 8.
Give me your rating. Just 4 or 8? Which or do you want me just to average that out?
I guess as a spy film, I'm rating it
Okay.
4, I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Carolyn?
Okay. So I definitely agree with many of the points that Sarah has made. I'm in line with that. So I really liked the characters. I thought they all did well in their roles. I liked the diversity, but they all seemed to sync together really well, and I thought they had good chemistry. I like the interactions between the characters. So those are the things that I find interesting in movies. And I even liked the fight scenes, which usually that's the part of the movie that I fall asleep during. So
Big day.
yeah, so that's kind of a big deal. Even like the ones on the docks, like where she's jumping on the shipping container and she just misses it. I was getting a flashback of like Tom Cruise like jumping on the side of the building and breaking his foot. So and she kind of like screams out like ah. I'm like, was that a real scream? Did you almost hurt yourself there? Yeah, and then she like swings her whole leg up and basically like does the split, like trying to get up on this shipping container. And then like the stick fighting or with the staff. I thought that was pretty good. I also appreciated that it was not really misogynistic like many spy movies are. And I thought it was nice that they kind of built in that family aspect. Which on the one hand, I thought was cute and it kind of showed that, spies can have families too. But also they use that as a plot point to murder all the families.
Yeah, but also they die.
Yeah.
They die and you end up alone.
It was nice but also not nice. But I don't know. Just the fact that it was there and they could use it as a plot point. I felt like other spy movies don't even really go there. You don't really care about the family. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And the twist was a little predictable, but still fun. And yeah, there are so many spy movies where the main characters, or there's so many spy movies. Why not one where all the main characters are all female? So, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Ocean's 8.
I was thinking that too.
Actually, yeah. I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all these kick-ass women, trying to save the world. Well, that's not exactly the plot, but regardless, all these kick-ass women working together.
There's definitely some similarities.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to watch them back to back, actually.
Yeah, see the similarities.
I think I liked Ocean's 8 more. I did see it in theaters, I think.
Maybe that made a difference. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, so did we. We saw it in theaters too.
The theatrical experience is important. As I think of our friends, the one who's most invested in the theatrical experience is important.
Yeah, and I've noticed particularly with the Marvel movies, I have such a higher. I like the theater experience so much more than watching it alone.
With other people, yeah. So then to continue, I was reminded of something. Oh, that's okay. I was reminded of something that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, and I don't know if there's any backlash to this movie, like with the Ghostbusters movie. I don't know if people are upset at this. But one of the things she said, when I'm sometimes asked, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? I say, when there are 9. And people are shocked, but there's been 9 men and no one's ever raised a question about that. So, I mean, this isn't the Supreme Court, but...
but basically, it is the Supreme Court.
So, I mean, this movie...
Give me one reason why it's not the Supreme Court.
So, this movie and we have Ocean's 8, and there are some similarities, but, there's no reason why more movies can't have, like, basically an all-female front-leading cast. Just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg said.
Yeah, and it would be nice. Like, I dream of a day when it's not notable, when it's a movie, not a movie for women. It's because the default assumption is that it's, for men, and that shouldn't.
For white men.
Yeah, for white men specifically, and that shouldn't be the default.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. As a podcast where there are currently 0 white men.
Bye, Zach. Zach, you're the token white guy.
Okay.
funny.
Well, with all
And
that,
then
Carolyn?
yes.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, I think it's just as good as your typical spy movie. And just because it's been done before, basically to your point, Sarah, doesn't mean it's not good. So I enjoyed it. So I would give it. This isn't always my favorite genre. So, but I would rank it highly in this genre. So I'll give it a 6.5. But
Alrighty.
I also agree with Sarah's interpretation and the rankings of movies that should be made. I think 8 is a solid rating.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
I think so.
All right. So to answer your question, Carolyn, about if there's been any sort of backlash against this, like there was the female Ghostbusters, or even Ocean's 8 had some backlash against it. There hasn't been much, but I'm wondering if that is because it, not a lot of people went to
Omicron.
see it in theaters because of Omicron, which is very unfortunate because I really, for many of the same reasons as both of you wanted this to succeed, because I think it'd be great if there was, a female fronted spy franchise out there, because hey, for me, the more spy movies and the more people who can see themselves in these movies, the better.
Yeah,
But
I also noticed even like they had all the different like hair colors and like everything. Like they really were like, I don't know, like, like I get you.
But yeah, so I thought I'm gonna counter Zach's point again about not seeing Jessica Chastain in this role. What? I don't
amazing.
I thought she was
understand it.
great.
Zach.
Amazing.
I thought all of the casting was really well done. Apparently, I think Carolyn was reading about this, how the character, Marie, was supposed to be a French agent played by Marion Cotillard, which would have been interesting too, because I don't think I've seen her much in like an action role. So that'd be really interesting to see. But I thought Diane Kruger did an excellent job. But yeah, I thought all of the cast was great. I thought the action for the most part was pretty good. There was a few times where I didn't like it was, the fight scenes were all good, but I think it was some of the direction didn't quite live up to like the choreography sometimes. Like we'd have parts where I can tell that everyone worked really hard and really well on what they were doing, but sometimes I just couldn't see it, and that's one of my big pet peeves. If I can't see the fight and appreciate how well they can actually fight, then what's the point of having them do all that training?
Who was the director?
So the few times, Simon Kinberg. He's only directed a few things before, one of which was Dark Phoenix.
Oh yeah, sorry, you mentioned that at the beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was very tropey, but I'm okay with tropes in spy movies because on the one hand, it kind of makes me feel a little bit smart when I'm like, oh, I think this is going to happen. But and then sometimes it'll completely surprise me, and it moves, and there's, oh, you know what? I feel dumb that I didn't see that coming, but it's also good surprise. So I thought I enjoyed it on the whole. It wasn't the best standout spy movie, but I'm really happy it's out there. I'm gonna give it higher than Zach, higher than Sarah, a 6 out of, so not as high as Carolyn, but a 6 out of 10, which I think it's a good movie. If you have if you have the opportunity to watch it, go for it.
Actually, let me bump mine up to a 7 because there's a lot of bad movies out there.
Fair enough, yeah.
And I'm quite confident that my scale has changed over time. Like I don't remember. Like I think I've become increasingly critical. Like I don't remember what my early scores were. Like I don't remember what I rated Austin Powers, but like it should be lower.
I assume you have
you also rated Austin Powers 3.
Oh, you do have
okay.
Yeah, I do. Let's see.
It would be interesting.
Sergeant Stubby.
I think I said 6.
I think yeah.
Yeah. So folks who are tracking my scoring don't think it's consistent.
Let's see. What else? Let's see.
The interesting thing, like when I started,
Sarah.
Yeah.
You rated Pearl Harbor higher than this movie. Then again, so did I. But only mine. You rated Pearl Harbor 6, and you gave this movie a 4. I gave this Pearl Harbor 6.5, and I gave this movie a 6.
Yeah,
that's a little bit sad. Although Pearl Harbor is a fun romp.
I mean,
I got so angry with Pearl Harbor.
And yet you still gave it a 6.
Because it landed on an upswing.
all right.
It landed on such an emotional note that that's where it landed. Had the movie kept going, it would have been like it would have gone back down. And I would have had another misogynist rant. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it too is when I started noticing and getting annoyed, I suppose, by some of the things by the tropes, it then colored my experience overall. And it, in fact, colored my ability to enjoy things. And I know this because the book that I'm reading that I am was super into, called The Maidens. I was all about it. Didn't have any qualms about the plot. After this movie, I start to read it, and immediately I go, this makes no sense. Why would they be doing this? How dare, this makes no sense. So once you get into the mind frame of why, as soon as you start to question, it pulls you out, and made that other reading experience that I was very much into less enjoyable. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but...
And for more of Sarah's Books on Rants, see her YouTube channel.
True.
Or Rants on Books, not Books on Rants.
I have Rants on Books.
Also, a book about rants.
Books on Rants. I have a book about rants about books. All the misogyny, all the problematic books. Stay tuned for more. There's another one dropping. What is your YouTube channel,
Sarah? Since we're into our plugs. Yes.
Is youtube.com/SarahCho, SarahChoh.
Righty. And where else can people find you online?
All of the socials, Twitter, Instagram. I'm Sarah Coe on there as well, with hyphens. So I think it's underscore. No, it's Sarah_COH_ on both Twitter and Instagram. But yeah, I'm really enjoying my YouTube journey. We have some Hawaii vlogs featuring Carolyn and Christian. So if you enjoyed your time today with the three of us, please join us on YouTube for further adventures.
All right. And Carolyn, do you want to promote anything? I have a feeling what you want to promote.
I can promote my dog's Instagram.
Excuse me, our dog.
Okay, yes. Our dog.
Excuse me, our dog.
No?
Yeah, got Auntie Sarah. Her Instagram is daisy.sky.the.doodle.
Yeah, if you just search Daisy Sky the Doodle.
Daisy Sky with an E. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for cute puppy photos and videos.
Including some at the Spy Museum. Hey, there's a plug.
Mm-hmm. DC International Spy Museum.
Thank you for joining us. You can find Zach and Christian on social media at the Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Carolyn.
And we are the Spy-Fi Gals, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Spy-Fi Guys. If you enjoyed our podcast, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The theme song from this podcast is Mistake the Getaway by Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Films, books, and television shows reviewed by our podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
This is a personal podcast. Any views, statements, or opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the participants. They do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the participants may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.
You can find our podcast on social media at The Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.